Bookworms. Imagine, just for one moment, you had the power to see ghosts, but not only see them, talk to them, feel them, touch them, hell, even let ghosts into your body to possess you. That'd be a trip, right? And that is what we got with the book that I've just read. Bookworms, welcome to the Weekend Readers Book Club. Thank you again for joining us. In this episode, we are discussing the 2019 Goodreads Choice Award winner for Best Fantasy, the book entitled Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Ninth House is about a young woman, Galaxy, or Alex as she's known throughout the book. She has a unique skill where she can see ghosts in her day-to-day activities, just walking around, doing whatever. There are ghosts there, most people can't see them. Alex has a skill to actually see them. Long story short, she gets approached by a secret society in a university to join them, to not so much hone her skills, but to be a watcher of the ghosts for her chapter or her club, as her club overlooks the other secret societies that are on campus. Throughout the story, we meet supporting characters, which is her mentor while she is in her secret society, a couple of contacts that she has at the secret society, her actual roommates as well in college, because she is also attending college while being part of the secret society. I say college, however, it's like college or university, depending where you are in the world. I'm talking Yale, like Yale or Harvard type school. So, yeah, whatever you call it, college or university. The main arc of the story is there is a murder. The police believe it's all above board in the sense that it was from the human world. Alex feels that no, it's from the supernatural world. They investigate that, and then we go down a long trail of stories that basically involves everybody you meet in the story, some way or another. And yeah, we end up with just a crazy story about ghosts, magic, secret society, spells, murder, abduction, transformations, the ability to control people. It's everything I guess you'd want in relation to a secret society story based at a university with murder and deceit and everything else. So, I have just finished Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and here are my takes on the book. Okay, so to sum it up, if this was Harry Potter, you would be following the story of a new trainee in the Ministry of Magic, and literally a wizard has killed a muggle, but the muggles think another muggle killed the muggle, but the Ministry of Magic knows better, and it's up to this new inductee in the Ministry of Magic to figure out what the hell's going on and what house did it. That's the book in Harry Potter terms, and that's the easiest way I can explain this. You were thrown in Ninth House to a story that I would say for the first maybe quarter of the book, I really was lost. I gauged who Alex was based on the blurb, and the story is mainly from Alex's point of view. However, I was lost in the sense of the houses that they overlook and watch, and what her job was to do in relation to her own house or secret society she was representing. The world building took some time. I would say probably halfway through, I sort of clicked, going, okay, this is roughly what I'm looking at. And then I would say by the last 3/4 of the book, I was like, okay, cool. You've slowly built this world. I sort of get it, and the story's humming along. And the last quarter of the book was just full on like bang, 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 bang. Stuff happened, look this way, stuff happened, look left, stuff happened, look right, stuff happened. It was the pacing picked up as the story went, which was good. However, the world building was slow to me anyway, to captivate, and that made the first half of the book, I won't say unenjoyable, just a little slow and boring. Like, I would have loved to go into Alex's backstory a lot more, but they don't. They sort of just touch base over what happened to her and why she's in this position, and like the first time she was able to see ghosts and somewhat. I get why this book was a smash hit in relation to reading. I feel though that for me, fantasy may not be my cup of tea. And that's because I not so much get bored, I just lose interest a lot, where you're trying to build a world, and as I said, for the first half of the book it was world building. It felt like a struggle to read. I will say though, the supporting characters in the book were great. They all played their part. The ending was amazing. And I'll touch base about the ending shortly, but the ending was cool. The ending was great. The ending was like, wow, okay, cool. I like where you're going with this. Overall, it was a great read. And I get the hype behind the book and the series. And I'll tell you now, this book hasn't made my bookshelf. And that isn't a reflection of Leigh Bardugo and the story of Ninth House, because it was a great story. I did enjoy it, but I only enjoyed half a book. And I feel that potentially it may just be the fantasy genre that I'm not enjoying. Because when the story picked up and it was actiony and it was who did it, we're looking this way, we're looking that way, I enjoyed that. But the slow world building process, it was a struggle and a slog to get through. And when I'm feeling like that reading a book, it gets to the point where I'm like, why am I trying to continue? And I know why I try and continue, but it doesn't feel enjoyable. But yeah, unfortunately, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, you haven't made my bookshelf. I will say though, the ending was great. However, I've looked at the sequel that has been released, and it's 507 pages, longer than this book, and I'm like, I don't want to really commit to reading 507 pages to find out what happens based on the end of the story. So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. As I said, fantasy may not be my cup of tea, and it may be yours. And I would say, while Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo hasn't made my bookshelf, as I said, I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed half the story, that was all. But if you're a fantasy, enjoyer, you may find that this book is actually completely awesome, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, hey, it is what it is. So, as it customs here at the Weekend Readers Book Club, as one book closes, another book has to open, and it is now time to find out what the Weekend Readers and next readers and Bookworms, we can confirm the next read is Last Gamer Standing by Katie Zhao. Now, the reason I'm reading this book is I brought this book for my son. He actually finally read it, and he said it was actually really enjoyable. So I wanted to actually read a book that he actually read and enjoyed that hasn't got pictures in it. And when I say pictures, I mean with the likes of, say, 115 Story Treehouse, Captain Underpants, Ninja Kids. Like, this is the first full-on story or novel that he's read that doesn't have pictures in there. So I'm enjoyed to see what Last Game of Standing is about, and to see, what is somewhat age-appropriate story for him. So, yeah, Katie Zhao, Last Game of Standing, you're the next read. So, Bookworms, there you have it. That was the review and discussion around Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. A book I enjoyed. A book where, as I said, I enjoyed the last half of the book. First half of the book in relation to world building. felt a bit lost, didn't really enjoy it, but overall the story was great. If you're a fantasy head, you probably are going to enjoy it. As I said, I understood what the hype is around it after finishing it. I understand why it's a New York Times bestseller. I get it. I understand why it won the awards for Best Fantasy. But it's just not my cup of tea. So unfortunately, Bookworms, you can follow us. Feel free to Instagram and Goodreads, Weekend Readers Book Club, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts from, The Weekend Readers. Until next time, thank you again for joining us. And Bookworms, happy reading.